What's up, fight fans? It's your boy P. Welsh here, bringing to you UFC Fight Night Kape versus Almabayev, coming off a 7-4 week, just winning week after winning week. Let's keep it going here in the flyweight division. Charles Johnson, 17-6, coming off a win versus Ramazan Temerov, 18-2 and one draw. And I mean, this is a really great battle to start off, and I'm a little worried for Johnson. He's kind of my guy. He's been on a really good run recently, 4 in a row, but I don't know if Temerov is just built different. I do think Johnson is entering his prime and is, but I really, he has been hit up a little bit. He has lost some rounds in those fights, and I mean, he got to finish on Van, but I don't know if I feel like Temerov is going to give him a battle that he's not really used to right now. I think one thing that could Temerov struggle with is late round, where Johnson definitely has flourished. He's got good gas tank. He's got good ability to eventually wear out the guy trying to grapple him and stand up with his length at 5'9". But kind of, I just think I really just I think I'm gonna how I think about like the prediction in the previews. I really do think Johnson will win a round and contest almost the entire fight, but I think he'll lose those moments where Temerov does damage, where Temerov gets the takedowns, and I think he'll win those and just control enough of the fight where Johnson will just be negated and what he can really do. And by the time he turns it on, you're like, oh, it's a little too late for Johnson. I really think I'm going to pick Temerov here, even though I'm a Johnson guy. I've been on the Johnson bandwagon. I just think at one point he's going to take damage and lose a significant portion of the fight that I don't know if he'll be able to overcome against this kind of opposition. And I think this is a really fascinating matchup to start off the fight night. I do think they might switch some stuff up as we go, as Dana makes his announcements. But covering this one first, man, this is an absolute juicer and a banger. Johnson was a slight underdog, and he's been bet up. I think Johnson on his recent form, and I mean he's on really good ability. But I mean I'm not gonna sell on Temerov here. I definitely think it's a very close fight. I can see a lot of stuff happening. I can see Temerov finish. I can see Johnson, decision. High level boxing, a lot of damage, but we got to really see. This is definitely a step up. But the way he just walked through CJ Vergara, which I would pick Vergara Johnson. I'd definitely like do your MMA math there. You probably pick Johnson too, but the way he just walked right through him, dude, I kind of got Temerov here, and I think he'll get a finish. I really do. I think that's the official. We're gonna start off there with Temerov and move on to the women's flyweight division. Montana De La Rosa, 13-9-1, coming off a win versus Luana Carolina, 11-4, coming off a win. Very similar metrics here, and a very you know, closely contested fight here. I kind of like Carolina here. She's been on a good run. Even some of her losses aren't the worst in the world. She did have that really good comeback against Staralenko in a fight she was probably losing as well. But I think she's a pretty consummate professional. I think she's entering the prime, and I think she can get an absolute win against Montana De La Rosa, who's just her last win against Andrea Lee. I think I picked her. I picked Lee. I remember that. But again, just not really a run of form like that. I'm not going to keep it too simple. I expect a Carolina domination. And we're going to keep it at that. We're going to move on to the next fight here, which I think is very fascinating. In the featherweight division, Donnie Silva, 9-1, standing 5'11", against Lucas Almeida, 15-3, coming off a win, 5'11". Very similar metrics, a little bit of a height, reach, and leg advantage for Almeida here. And man, I don't know which way this really goes there. I really do think Danny Silva, he's the favorite. I think that's more of a hedge on Almeida, who just hasn't looked the best at times, even getting the win in his last fight. I think I, again, picked against him, and he got the win. So maybe I'm just going to try and fade against Almeida again, just how I similar in the other way, just because at the end of the day, his ability to string performances just hasn't been there, and we want to be able to see it. Now it could be like a life or death situation for Almeida here, and he might have an advantage in the grappling department and being able to fish for a submission against Silva. I think is always live for somebody like that too. But I think we're going to see Silva do some damage here. I think he's going to stand up and try and square up, and I think that's why Silva wins. I think he's just going to be outclassing him on the feet. Almeida's not really like a wrestler takedown kind of guy like that, so I definitely think he could. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't have a lot of faith in Lucas Almeida. He's not one of these guys that you love to like watch in some of his past performances. So I'm really gonna hopefully we find a nice prospect in Danny Silva here, and I think we're gonna move forward with that being the pick. Bang! Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to the women's flyweight bout. Andrea Lee, 13-10, coming off a loss, versus JJ Aldrich, 13-7, coming off a loss. A little bit of a reach advantage for Lee here, and a very nice matchup here. And I mean, this seems like an Aldrich spot all day. I know she's a significant, decent favorite at -205. Lee, definitely older, 36 years old, and coming off 5 losses in a row. And I really don't see it coming against Aldridge. He's a freaking gamer, dude. I know you can come off I just think Aldridge is one of the tougher women's flyweights. She's always going in there throwing hands. She's in there for a long time. She's not afraid to get, yeah, I think she's got a great chance to win this fight. I think she's probably one of the top prospects. I think she trains really hard. When you watch her, she puts in a good performance. She's not backing down. She's throwing volume. She's throwing combos. She's defending. She's giving it her all. She definitely wins third round. Like, I think Aldridge could win in the third round here, easily get a drop. I think she's won every third round that I've watched, JJ Aldridge. So she's one of those fighters that, like, gets in there early and rallies late too. So even in some of those fights that she's lost, I definitely think she's even won some of those rounds as well. So I'm picking JJ Aldridge here, coming off the loss against Veronica Hardy, which I'm trying to remember that fight. But again, these women, they just kind of trade contests over time. It's crazy. Win-win, loss, win-win, loss. So we're just going to see what happens there and move on to the bantamweight division. Douglas De Silva Andrade versus John Castaneda. Look at that dirty stash. 29-6 coming off a loss. Castaneda 21-7 coming off a loss. And yeah, this is kind of a who wants it more situation here. This is again, another nice matchup from the bookmakers. Castaneda's got a lot to prove, and I'm really kind of worried about what he's bringing to the table these kind of days, right? I think some of these guys that were like higher end prospects that kind of fizzled out in their careers in their mid 30s, not really peaking on like on a streak or nothing like that, against another grizzled vet who's kind of going in there, at least has a win condition in a way. He just doesn't get finished. I think I'm kind of going Silva de Andrade here, just because I think it's just one of those things where, like, yo, if Castaneda, or if like some guys like Basharat can get finished by, I kind of just think Castaneda can get finished too. And yeah, I don't know. This one's a really tough one for me to pick. I don't have a lot of faith in John. He's like one of those guys that he kind of reminds me of, like that Josh Koulibaly, like, you guys that you really expect some exciting wins, losses against other guys that are pretty good. Like, you really just can't trust what they're going to bring on fight night. You know what I mean? Like, some nights are getting finished, some nights are losing, some nights are winning. They really, depending on what they did in their past performance. But, I mean, Marco's pieced them up pretty good, and I think Andrade can really implement a lot of the similar strategies and get him in a bad position at some point and do the damage. I mean, what's John really going to do? Get some wrestling and a submission? Maybe I could see something like that. Is that really what he's going to do? When was the last time he popped off one of those, right? So, arm triangle against Miles John. That's like his best career highlight. Is he going to, he has, like, that's his win condition, is putting a career night together. That's John Castaneda. That's what he has to do. Like, you got to tell him he's got to perform. You just can't go out there like it's a regular day. You got to be able to have some imagination, some creativity. You have to be able to have some dog in you, to dig down, dig deep, and, pull it out from the trenches, man. It's just the layers and the levels in this game, and we got to see John bring it. That's his win condition against somebody that's a tough competition, sturdy opponent. And, similar, this is, like, again, the bantamweight division is just full of a bunch of guys that go against one another like that. And, I mean, my guy De Silva's been against anybody, so I'm picking De Silva here. Let's go. Into the featherweight division, we got Ricardo Ramos, 17-6, coming off a win, standing 5'9", a little bit of a reach advantage, versus my guy Chepi Machine Gun Mariscal. We got the first one of our bombers in a title fight, Diego Lopes. I hope one day we can get Chepi Mariscal versus Diego Lopes in a featherweight title fight. I don't think Chepi gets there against some of the more elite guys. Like, if he popped Mosvar, I don't think he'd get there. But my guy Mariscal is absolutely one of my favorite fighters, and he's a big favorite, and he's a big favorite for a reason. Ramos gets finished, has been finished. I just think he beat Josh Koulibaly in his last fight. So, like, one of those things, like, split decision. My guy's gonna get put through the freaking meat grinder against Chepi Machine Gun Mariscal, dude. Might as well call him. He's basically a butcher too, dude. I mean, yeah, Chepi can definitely get hit and finish. Like, that's kind of his thing against. But, like, I mean, it's been a while, and against somebody, those were against hard hitters: Steve Garcia, Jordan Anderson, Brito. You know what I mean? Bryce Mitchell, like his losses on that 6 are against some actual really top competition, and I think he's gonna push for the rankings right now. I think he's gonna call out a ranked opponent. My guy Machine Gun, I think, is an absolute lock of the week. You know what I could say? He's one of my favorite fighters. I always love finding guys that absolutely are just gamers, throw hands, and know what they're doing in the octagon, and have a plan, execute on it, and really just bring the juice, man. I think Cheppy's one of my guys that brings the juice, dude. He's one of my, like I said, he's probably my current like favorite prospect fighter. You know, somebody that's kind of moving up in the classes. He is 32 years old. He's not exactly like a young gun, but that's why I think he's really peaking. He's really, maturing into his own and figuring out the fight game. And let's see how far he can go, man. Like I think against Ramos, his last fight was that at lightweight? I don't even remember, but I feel like he's coming down a little bit. That being said, nah. Featherweight, he fought Jourdain. Like I said, if Jourdain's on that squad too, bro, I got my guy Charles Jourdain, Gene Silva, Cheppy Mariscal, Diego Lopes. They're just some guys that absolutely put the freaking bricks in the hand to put some lights out. You know what I mean? Those are the the bomber squad. And I say I got Mariscal here, dude. And yeah, let's go. I think he's gonna push for the rankings. I think this year, man, one of my favorite fighters. And we're moving up to the welterweight division. We got Danny Barlow, 9-0, versus Sam Patterson, 12-2 and 1 draw. And boy, oh boy, this seems like a Danny Barlow spot all day, dude. I love the matchup. I love the reach. And I think Patterson's always went up against guys that are smaller than him. I think when he's going to hand up against somebody that's the same size as him, I think he's going out, man. Patterson's really rallied since his debut loss that I remember him taking. And he's looked really well, but he's also fought a couple trash cans since then. And Danny Barlow is a certified slinger. Dude, he throws the rock. He throws the fist, man. He's got an incredible reach, too, and I think he's going to present a lot of problems for Patterson, who's never really went up against that kind of mirror matchup. Right? In a mirror matchup like this, I'm taking Danny Barlow all day. I think he does well again in those kind of situations. Now, if Patterson comes in there and surprises us, it's a fight game. Anything can happen, but this is a Danny Barlow spot, man. Him, Mariscal, some really, really exciting. Some of my favorite fighters on this card, actually. This is why I love the UFC because, like, yeah, you have a big event, but this is an apex with some of my the guys that we touched in our preview videos. Absolute slingers of the fists. And, boy, man, Danny Barlow, big time. I think he's going to come in there pretty strong, ladies and gentlemen. Where are they? Danny, that was welterweight. Next, we're going back to the featherweight division. We got 10-0 Hyder Amil versus William Gomi, 14-2. A big height advantage for Gomi here, but man, again, Amil's one of those guys that he just throws combos, he throws damage, and I don't know how to feel about Gomi, man. He just beat my guy Brito, right? And that was his greatest competition. It was a split decision, but I think Brito, that was on French soil. I think Amil's coming here for an upset, man. I definitely think he can get pieced up and lose the decision to Gomi, but I got to go pick my guy Hyder Amil. Like, I'm not going to hype him up, tell him he's going to ascend, and then lose to a guy that's above him. No chance I'm picking that. I mean, I got Hyder Amil here just because I really do think that Gomi was a little fortunate to win that last fight. His weight cut hasn't always been the best. That's another thing. If he comes in there and this is if he's overweight again against Amil, then I definitely think Gomi's going to get the win, right? So I will asterisk this fight because I know my guy Gomi freaking has some issues on the scale sometimes because he is 6 foot cut in the 145. So put a little pin on that. But if they both make weight, I think Hyder actually I think he's got the power. I think he's got the ability to do the damage, to get the combinations, and eventually work a finish. Or I don't want to say it takes him down, but just I really do like Hyder Amil, dude. I just think for the featherweight, you have to have that speed to power ratio. You can kind of see it in even, freaking Topuria, man, at the top, dude. He's not the biggest guy. He's 5'8", but man, same with Volkanovski, dude. Speed to power, do the damage, up, down, IQ, and I think Hamill's got a ability to produce that. There's 3 straight undefeated fighters. Let's see how they go. I'm picking all 3 straight undefeated fighters. So we're gonna go Barlow. We're going Hamill. We're going to the heavyweight division here. Mario Patino versus Austin Lane, 13-5. Lane versus Patino, 9-0, heavyweight from Europe. And this is I think this is a moments versus minutes. I think Austin Lane can win minutes of this fight potentially, but I also think he eventually gets finished with a nice combination second, third round. I think you can see him looking really good, and dude, I don't know what the UFC is doing for the heavyweight division, and I really think Austin Lane is progressing well as a prospect, and I really do think he has a chance to win this fight as well, being a huge underdog. It wouldn't surprise me if we take an L on this one. I don't know anything about Patino except his potential, right? We can just talk about him being on the Contender Series and his KO potential, and then Lane's been finished a time or two. His last fight was definitely a great performance. I'm trying to remember. I gotta go look it up. Who was he fighting? He bought Despan Sage, so like he was a trash can too. But let's see what he can do. I'm not picking him right now. I'm picking Patino just because of pure. There's got to be a reason. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm gonna pick the guy that's a prospect that could absolutely finish him if he's better on the feet than Lane. And Lane is not good on the feet. That's the next thing, right? Like he worked a takedown against Despan Sage. He worked some of his stronger suits and leverage and, but I think if he's physically not able to dominate Patino, I think he stands him up and they strike and it could be he could get a finish here. I think second round Patino finish is what I would really be like if I had to, just pick something specific for each and every fight. Actually, maybe I'll start doing something like this person by a type of finish as well, just to maybe spice it up and grow over time. But let's just try that and see how good we can get here. Bang! Moving on to the lightweight division. I think this will be the co-main event too. I think they'll rearrange the fight card. Nasar Harpquist, 17-5 versus my guy Esteban Rabovich, 14-1, coming off a massive win and another massive matchup the UFC gives us here. And if you're not a fan of Rabovich, I understand he's a pretty big. I just think he takes it down, dude. I think he's an absolute hoss in the octagon, man. I think Harpquist is no shame the Harpquist, bro. This should be another great matchup. I do think this is the co-main event. When you look at Brundage Marquez, there's no way they're gonna put Marquez in the co-main event. Rabovich, dude, I really do think he's an absolute killer in there. His last two fights were unbelievable performances. McKinney in under a minute and the Zell Huber comeback. The ability to do damage when he was hurt. I just think as long as he doesn't get taken down and dominated on the ground, which I don't really think Harpquist presents that much. I think Rabovich might be one of the best strikers in the division, dude. I honestly think he's better than Patty. If he fought Patty would have to get him in some kind of Bobby Green situation, make a mistake. I think this guy is a certified contender in the lightweight division, and I think he's just a force to be coming. I think he absolutely gets the dub here. Esteban Rabovich. It's a name you're going to remember. It's a name you're going to see against some Rafael Fizieves in the future. Like, this guy's going to be in some monster matchups and some big-time pay-per-views. Mark my word, dude. And I think this is another one on the situation where he gets there. I think this will be the co-main event. I don't know if he gets a finish in the co-main event. I think he just absolutely puts on a class performance, calls out somebody, and if he does get a finish, I think the sky's the limit, bro. Moving on for what they have here, the co-main event, middleweight division, Cody Brundage, 10-6 versus Julian Marquez, 9-5. And I don't got much to say about this, bro. Like, I don't have any faith in Marquez. I will never pick that man to win a UFC fight. Brundage at least has performed a couple times against a couple opponents, and granted, he's coming off a loss and a no contest and hasn't looked the best. This is a good rebound spot for him. Julian Marquez got a glass chin, dude. You put an uppercut, you get him hit one time. I think compared to the last two guys that Brundage has fought, Razak Al-Hassan and Bo Nickel, Julian Marquez is going to look like a nice spark here for Brundage. I think he's going to be able to take him down, dominate him, do some damage. And yeah, look at the difference in the arms here too. It looks like it looks like they got the same reach, but man, it looks like Brundage is gonna have maybe that's because Marquez is a little taller, But I really like Brundage here, a little underdog spot. I definitely think this is even more of a pick'em situation, but yeah, I just can't get behind Marquez at any point on a UFC pick. If he shows up and shows out, I'd be happy. At least like Brundage, he's got I don't even have that much faith in him either, you know what I mean? But I just think he's got a little bit more potential. I think he's just got a little bit more will. Who knows? Let's go to the main event, though, ladies and gentlemen. It's time! Manel Kape versus Asul Almabayev. Flyweight, #1 contender fight. Wow! replaced Roval, Almabayev on relative short notice against Kape, and man, I think this is literally, I think, the second and third best fighters in the flyweight division in the entire world. And I'm very happy we get to see this matchup. If Almabayev, I think he's gonna get it, man. I'm picking him to win. I think Kape has to knock out Almabayev for him to win. I don't know if he can win over 25 minutes. I think we kind of see Almabayev trying to implement a plan like Makayev, right? But, in that fight, Kape kind of hurt his toe. He was compromised for sure. And I definitely think he could put the lights out at any point in the 5-rounder and put my guy Asu Almabayev out. I think he can catch him coming in, going out, and then just right into, like, this could be a 3-second finish for Kape at any point, which is so scary. But, like, I don't want to have to be picking him against somebody that, like, I know his game plan is to go in there, take down, and we got to just, I don't know, man. Is Kape's pants gonna be on fire? You know what I mean? Is the man gonna be vicious, or is he gonna have that little, like, frustration? Like, that's one of those things. He kind of gives me that little Kevin Holland vibes when he gets a little frustrated in the octagon. I know what Almabayev's game plan is gonna be. It's gonna be control, composure, try and win the fight, position over submission, and fight there. I think it's going to be a really close one. I definitely think it could be a freaking split decision even at the end. I'm picking Asul Almabayev, ladies and gentlemen. I do think Kape has a chance to put the lights out. I think he might be not having the most competition in his career up to this point, while Manal Kape is a certified absolute killer. And if it wasn't for, like, the political nature of the fight game and matchmaking, he might have had his situation a little bit sooner. Almabayev he hasn't really had a big time finish in a while, but I just think against these high level guys, he's not gonna get those kind of finishes. I think Kape has a chance to get the finish. I'm looking at freaking Kape, dude, the amount of rescheduled fights, like I said, there's a reason why certain things are the way they are with this man. And he has an opportunity to finish everything in the situation in the octagon. See what happens. I'm picking Asul Almabayev, though. I kind of just think the wrestling nature of him. I think he's very composed. He's a very mature person, and I'm always gonna lean and pick towards, like, that kind of consummate professional versus, the superstar finisher. I think when they clash and the wills get put up against one another, everything else vanishes, and one thing holds true, and it's the way that Almabayev is gonna handle the situations, the positions in the fight. He'll probably lose some exchanges on the feet as well. Like, I think Kape is an absolute freaking killer, man. His reach is a problem. He's scary, man. He wants Pantoja, and he's the biggest wild card, the biggest X factor maybe in the entire UFC. I think he has a chance to hold the belt if he can get the win here, but I don't know if he's going to be able to. He's got to finish. Like, he can't leave this to the judges. You got 5 rounds. You got to find a way to get a finish, man. Top. I just think that's it. If you go to the judges' scorecards against Almabayev, I just think he's going to win so much of the fight. It's going to be hard for him to lose on the scorecards. This is one of those, I think, an incredible matchup. I'm really happy Roval pulled out of this one, because I definitely think Roval is. I think he would have lost this fight against Kape. I think it would have been a slam dunk for Kape. I think just the damage that he's accumulated over the tough fights, you got to have a little bit more time to recover and a little bit more time to plan and against the highest level of guys. Why the highest level of guys typically only fight 2 times a year, just because the damage accumulated, the health that you need to have, and the game plan and training that you need to execute to beat somebody like that just requires a substantial amount of time. And I think sometimes the more people fight, like Roval fighting 3-4 times in a year against high level Moreno, title fights against Pantoja, it adds up. So I'm glad to kind of see Almabayev step in here. I think he's one of those guys that he had 3 fights last year, but I think as a debut year, I think that was what he needed in a way, for a big year. And I think if he wins here, he gets 2 fights this year for a title. I think the winner of this fights for the title against Pantoja and Kai Kara France, which, I'm picking Pantoja there. So Pantoja Kape, Pantoja Almabayev should be. I think. I mean, honestly, I think the winner of this fight actually might hold the belt, just because like I just think sometimes champ fatigue happens, and you might see that picked next week. I'm kind of leaning, against certain kind of champ fatigue. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I just think some guys are gonna stay consistent, right? This is an interesting year with Topuria vacating the belt in featherweight. We're going to see Volker Lopes. We're either going to see kind of like a return of the guard or a little bit passing of the torch to the next generation, right? Depending on what happens here, and then we got definitely some opportunities this year to see some new matchups, even with guys like Chimaev, Ankalaev, Almabayev, Kape. Who else is going to have a chance? At the belt again. It's in so many divisions, right? We're gonna have Topuria, Mahashev, maybe something's gonna shake out in the lightweights. Welterweight, you got Muhammad, JDM. I think Muhammad's got that one. I like Bilal a lot, but I just think there could be some changeover. I don't think Bilal loses the next one. I think he loses maybe the one after that because he might fight a better opponent. I think JDM coming off a loss, he was barely beating Gilbert. Like I think Bilal's gonna eat him up. So I don't think that one changes hands. But I think Ankalaev can beat Pereira in a way. I think a few guys can lose the belt this year, and we got Volkanovski and Lopes in a few weeks. Wow, fascinating time. Some insane matchups that were just procured, recently, and a lot of things shaken up. I maybe need to do like a seasonal recap show or something like that. I like doing the fight nights. I gotta do a little bit more to engage more audiences on different lengths than just the 30-minute full fight card breakdown. Trying to go fly through some of the simpler picks, not spend too much time on things that I don't want, and then have a little bit more time to ad-lib here at the end if anybody's here. Thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Leave your comments. Pick every fight, and if you pick all the winning fighters in the comments, I'll give you $100. That being said, we'll do a little recap here. I really appreciate like going on to these long lib, championship level fights, these 5 rounders. I think they'll move around some of these people on the card, but I think we'll have some incredible matchups. I think we'll see some great finishes again. We got another. I think it's an Apex card, right? The Apex coming off the UFC Seattle. Let's do a little recap, and I'm ready to go, baby. I'm gonna go start with Temerov over my guy Johnson, even though I'm a big Johnson fan. We're gonna go Luana Carolina, Danny Silva, J.J. Aldridge, Silva de Andrade, Chepi Mariscal, Danny Barlow, Hyder Amil, Mario Pinito, Esteban Rabovich, Cody Brundage, and Asul Almabayev. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. Thanks for watching each and every week if you made it this far. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your friends and your family. Peace and love, everybody.